Welcome back. You're tuning in to Financial Fitness Northwest live on 1150 KKNW, where we help you navigate the mortgage and real estate market with expert advice from knowledgeable and trustworthy industry professionals. Now we have here in studio Nicole Harding and Teresa Hollenbeck. With over 14 years' experience in sales and account management, Nicole brings a wealth of knowledge to her clients while ensuring a seamless title and escrow experience. She is known for her professionalism, excellent communication skills, and providing a highest level of customer service in the industry. Nicole strives to create a true partnership with her clients to help them reach their goals. Teresa is a dedicated senior account manager who is committed to providing superior customer service and follow through to all of her clients. Her personable approach and care helps to ensure a seamless title and escrow experience. With over 30 years of combined title officer and sales experience, Teresa specializes in new and conversion construction projects, and she is committed to customer satisfaction and to providing the highest quality service to all her clients. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome. We're so glad to have you guys. You're going to really shed some light on the inner makings of title and escrow.
Yes, we hope to.
You know it.
So I guess let's just start by why don't you tell people what is title insurance?
Yeah, great question. A lot of people don't know, buyers and sellers out there. So what the heck am I getting? So basically, title insurance is just the title examiners run two reports. They run the report where we run the search on their name. So we're running the specific name, looking for anything in the superior courts that's been filed. So bankruptcies. We also find divorces, judgments, pending actions, all of those things. People are always super surprised that we actually have access to finding out. And then we also run the property address. So we're looking for things that are recorded. So any money matters, such as mortgages, liens for labor and materials, social and health, federal taxes, all that good stuff comes out of those two searches. So it takes about 3 to 5 days usually to generate a report. And that's basically what we're looking for. That's what we're insuring and looking up.
So when you're talking about a report, like for a buyer is paying for a title, they're buying a property, you're running the report on the seller's name, right?
Correct.
The seller of the property, to make sure that there's no liens or judgments against them that they could also come and get the property for, right?
And then we're also running the buyer's name once we know that.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yep.
Why are you running the buyer's name? Just to find out stuff?
Yeah. Just to find out stuff. Yeah, if there's anything that follows them along, right? Because
Right.
it's their name, so it will attach to the property.
Because that would be bad to know, like if they had some big thing lurking out there that could, take precedence over their first lien on the property, right?
And somebody wants to get
As a
paid.
lender, you want to know that.
Yes,
Oh,
you
yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I
Yeah.
didn't really ever think about that you would run it on the actual buyer as well.
It's good to know.
Yeah. So who pays for that? How much does that cost?
Yeah, good question. So it really is set up in the purchase and sale agreement that industry standard is where the seller actually pays for the buyer's policy and the buyer's coverage. And if the buyer is taking out a loan, then they pay for the lender's coverage. So let's say, for example, a home selling for $600,000, the sales price would be $1,548 plus tax. And say the buyer is putting 20% down, so that would be $480,000. They'd pay $862 plus tax. So that's kind of a rough.
Yeah. So it's dependent on like the price of the home and the loan amount.
Totally.
Right.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Nice.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, so a lot of times as a lender, you'll see a quote, you'll give a quote to a client and it'll have a really large number in there for title insurance. But we tell them that that's the full cost and they're really paying essentially maybe half of that. And then the seller is paying the other half. Because sometimes we have to disclose the full amount to the buyer, the larger amount, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's the cost for, like you guys are saying, there's the cost for the seller's title, right?
Correct.
And then there's the cost for the lender's title.
Yeah. So there's 2 title policies on every sale transaction if a lender is, yes.
They said the seller is paying the buyers.
Correct.
And the buyer is paying the lenders.
You got it.
Right.
I'm learning.
It can be confusing.
I know.
It's not really for the seller at all. It's for the buyer and the lender.
Right. But it's necessary in order for them to sell
Exactly.
their property because no one's going to buy without a clear title. Right?
You got it.
You don't want to get into a situation where there's some lien against it and then you're stuck with it.
No, I actually just had a deal last month fall apart because was judgments on the sellers of the property, and so they didn't have enough to pay them, and the buyer ended up backing out of the property because, right, there was no clear title, so he couldn't buy it.
Or it's a short sale, and that makes it tough.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, that's title. Got it.
Okay.
Now,
Check.
done. Escrow. Okay, this when I explain escrow to people, I just really, really dumb it down. So you guys tell me how you would say it, but like to a borrower, I just tell them, hey, this is the middleman where your money transfers between, because we don't touch any money.
Yeah.
What do you guys say?
Now that she's been saying that all this time,
Set me
tell us
straight.
the
You're
real-
right, Sarah.
Set me straight. What is it?
That's actually a really good explanation. We always just say, escrow is an impartial third party. So they're not representing anyone. Their job is to just, make sure that everything flows. They're paying off liens and debt and encumbrances that affect title on the seller's end. Their job is to follow the lender instructions and make sure everything is right on, spot on, perfect. And they're also following the purchase and sale agreement. So they have to follow the terms of that. So that's really, in that transaction, you're going to be interacting with escrow a lot. The buyer, the seller, the agents, anybody involved, the lenders. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the escrow, who's paying for that?
So that generally is split equally between a buyer and a seller. So they're just so our example of 600,000 sales price. So the fee would be 1,900, and then you split that up, obviously. So 950 per side. So sellers paying 950, buyers paying 950, and then we have an additional $60 wire courier fee in addition to that. But it's pretty minimal compared to the title insurance. It's definitely a lower cost, but it's also based on sales price.
And that would be for a purchase, right?
Exactly.
So if someone's refinancing, I know it's usually a lot less for escrow.
Yeah,
Why is it so much less on a refinance?
Probably because of just work involved. It's a little bit less work. So it's
Because you're not dealing with a contract, and
exactly,
is that why? Or-
exactly. Not as much involved. So
Or agents.
That's right. No,
Yeah.
less
You're
people.
not right. Less
Yeah, less
peeps.
people.
yeah,
Mhm.
so it's pretty quick. Yeah.
Nice.
Good to know.
Yeah. So a lot of times I think it's really funny, no matter how many times we explain it and we include this sheet, like what is escrow to our people. And then they are always like, okay, so I'm going to be in your office at noon on Thursday to sign my loan documents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you're not. You're going to be at escrow, because you guys also, that's where they go to sign their final documents for closing in front of a notary. And sometimes you guys can send a notary to their house, right, to sign them at their convenience. So I don't think people always grasp that part of it.
Yeah, and they think that they do. They always think, especially first-time buyers, maybe seasoned, no, but they always think they're going to come to us. When am I coming in to sign?
Well, and it's hard because they're not ever really meeting their escrow closer.
Right.
So that's you guys have all that relationship with them, and then they're thinking, "Oh, great, I'm coming in." And no, actually, those millions of emails you've been getting and all the paperwork that you've been having to give back to these people, you don't meet them because a mobile signer goes out and signs them, and it's still not their closer.
Yeah.
So they just don't know.
They don't.
Yeah.
So who picks them? Like who picks who title and escrow is?
Typically the agents.
Okay.
They have that professional relationship, and so they're the ones that direct. And now, because the industry is so heavy on the seller end, as far as just what's going on out there, it's just it's that listing agent, that agent that represents a seller that is choosing title and escrow.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So the buyer's agent doesn't have as much say because they're just accepting the offer to win, right?
So
They're like,
competitive
what?
out there right
Yeah.
now. Yes.
Huh.
So they're waiving that choice.
So I'm kind of curious. I mean, obviously, there's quite a lot of companies to choose from. What sets your company apart from other companies? I mean, do different title and escrow companies specialize in different things, or what is it more of just a service level? What would be the difference?
I think that's spot on. I think, Nicole, you can add too, but I think for us, it really is that service factor of just being there, answering questions, being in front of everything. So I think that's, because our rates are pretty comparable across the board. So that's not really a big issue. It's just who's going to take care of you, who's going to make sure your clients end up with a really, really good experience in the end.
And we get the opportunity at CW that we have 2 underwriters, which is super unique to other title companies because we can take a problem to one underwriter and they may not agree to insure that, and you can run it by the other underwriter.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's nice to have choices because most people only have one.
Okay. Well, that is good to know.
It is 2 chances.
Yeah.
To get it through.
Yeah.
A 2-strike rule.
I know. And we love
Better
being,
than one strike.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. And we're local. I think
Right.
a lot of people around here love to buy local, support local. So we're King, Snohomish, and Pierce County, and it's nice to be a local company, and we have access to our fabulous CEO, and we just call them and they make it happen.
That's great. I mean, it's really just like choosing a lender too, or an agent. You have to just pick someone who is going to service you well, because at the end of the day, as lenders, rates are pretty comparable. It really just comes down to what kind of service you're going to receive and how far they're going to go to help you, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So that's why we love you guys.
Yes, we do.
We do.
So
we do.
important.
So what does a buyer need to do to really ensure that they're going to have a smooth closing? What tips can we give them to set themselves up for success?
Well, you ladies are going to love this because we're heavy into get your paperwork in.
Ooh, I do love it.
Yes. whatever your lenders really request, it's got to be done immediately, because I don't think people understand that the process will be stalled unless every piece of paperwork is in and set and ready. And so for us, that's crucial. We hear that from our escrow all the time, too. It's just when we send out that welcome packet, there's things that we need in there to be signed, and just the sooner the better. So you can be an A-plus buyer or seller by just getting everything that the professionals ask you for turned in quickly.
Yeah, that's really good.
It is good. So that brings me to a question that I've always wanted to ask, because we get asked so many times with the buyers. They will call and say, why do I need to provide all this to you, to the escrow? You guys already have it. Because you guys do ask for a lot of stuff that we already have and you eventually get. But can you explain that packet that you send out and why you ask for the information that you do?
Well, I think especially on the seller end, that people think maybe that we do have the loan numbers, and we don't. There's nowhere a record where escrow can get that other than just getting it from the seller, and also the homeowner association information. That's just crucial for escrow to be able to contact them.
Mm-hmm.
No other place we're going to be able to find that information except for directly to the seller.
Right.
And they should probably feel good about that, because we're not sharing. I don't think you guys can share,
No. Right.
Social security numbers and important information. So it's also protecting their identity. So
Right.
you keep it under lock and key.
Yeah. And so do you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have to.
No
We
sharing.
don't share.
Yeah.
That's good.
Right. That should make them feel better. I always think it's funny when they're like, oh, I'm just finishing this last page of paperwork for you. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then they're like, oh, they're reading it. I'm like, oh, that needs to go to Title and Escrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure. Okay. So what does escrow pay off? Like, what things do they pay off at closing?
Yeah, that's a great question, because there is a lot of confusion always, especially on the seller side, because sellers, you get the mutual acceptance and you just want to move on, right? So what sellers are covering, or what escrow is covering, is all the lienable utilities. So water and sewer.
Oh.
And then in Seattle and Kirkland, they actually also check off garbage. So they'll cover garbage as well. So they're getting all the payoff amounts for that. And then as far as the seller goes, they're also clearing, money matters, their liens, their deeds of trust, they're paying that off. And then they're also bringing taxes current. So the seller's got to know, when you leave the property, you're going to need to call cable. You're going to need to call Puget Sound Energy, because they won't even talk to escrow.
Oh.
So it's really important, because a lot of times we get calls, sellers have moved on, and then they have some outstanding bill with Puget Sound Energy, and they're upset, rightfully so, but they didn't call and let PSE know that they were moving. So
you guys pay off water and sewer,
Mhm.
but just not energy
Exactly.
and garbage. So you reach out to them and find out what they owe on their bills. and
Exactly.
They get settled at closing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
What about that sewage capacity? Right? Because I know when I bought my house, I had no idea that there was this huge sewage capacity bill that I then had to pay and take on.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, but so that could be paid at closing, though, if you negotiate that, right?
Absolutely. I think there's a box in the purchase and sale agreement that buyer to assume or
Seller to pay.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Yep.
thing has to get paid off at closing, too.
Yes.
Yeah. So take note of that.
Beware.
Yeah.
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 Because it's a large amount.
Well, I know, but do they go for that? Because really it's it's a small amount over time, and it stays with the property, right? So if you're living in the property, it's your sewer, right?
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah,
Right.
it is. It is. But I just know that I've been on the lending side where, it wasn't ever brought to their attention. So you're buying a property and you don't realize you owe $6,000 on a sewer capacity fee, and then it comes to closing and their numbers and they're like, what, I have to pay this bill, and so the seller paid it, closed it.
Yeah.
Wow.
It does happen. It happens quite a bit because I think sellers forget about it because it's just kind of a random bill that kind of
It comes like
in.
quarterly.
It comes
Right.
quarterly.
I mean,
It's
I
like
still get
$150
mine. I'm
or
like, oh
something.
yeah, I forgot. I
Yeah.
gotta pay
Uh-huh.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, what is that? Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Need that sewer.
Yes, you do.
So how about that question, when do I get my keys?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone always wants to know, when do I get my keys?
Yes. I love that question. So a lot of people think, they come in, especially the buyers, they're excited. They come in, they sign all their paperwork, and then they think, where's my keys?
Yeah, it's because they watch HGTV.
Yeah. Wish we could be like that. Yeah. But it's not. So they go in usually a day or two before they actually get recording numbers. So the actual recording numbers that come from the county. And then we as an escrow, we will contact the real estate agents and say, okay, we have recording numbers. And then they can coordinate with the buyers and sellers that key handoff and that exciting time.
It's usually in the late afternoon, evening that you get your keys.
Exactly.
Right, because you guys record later in the day.
Yep. The counties kind of start around noon, and then so it can be up till 4:30 until we get numbers for certain closings. So yeah, it's usually in the evening.
I like literally picture a person like standing at the county, like trying to get numbers. Is that
They do.
Yeah.
is that how it goes down?
They do. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm right.
Yeah, no, they stand there all day in line with all the original
Really?
documents. Oh yeah, it's still
Oh.
as it was years ago.
You think we could improve on that system
You
a
would
little
think,
bit?
wouldn't you? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds a little antiquated.
yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for all the information. It was awesome having you guys. I hope our listeners learned a lot about title and escrow. It's an important part of the mortgage process. Thank you for tuning in to Financial Fitness Northwest. When we come back from the break, we will have Jake Weber from Family Works, and she will share with us their winning plan of combining a food bank and family services under one roof. To find out about more topics discussed on today's show, join us online at www.financialfitnessnw.com.